Hi guys, this is Pete, and this is my point of view on the Glazers announcing that the club is now for sale. We're just going to kind of go into my thoughts on it. Then I'm going to go into some of your guys' thoughts from Twitter. I put a tweet out there asking you your guys' thoughts. So I've got some of those comments, and also I've got a couple of polls just about your ideas on who you think will be best to take charge of the club. So we'll start off with obviously the Glazers release a statement saying that obviously they're looking for either investors, a strategic way forward for the future, and possibly to sell the club. Obviously, a lot of fans are taking it that they're definitely going to sell, and that's what most fans, including me, would prefer. And I hope that's the case. I hope they don't end up finding an investor that's, going to just give them money and be a silent backer, because I wouldn't want that, because they've not ran the club properly for, 17 years now. So obviously we don't want that to carry on. I just want to kind of briefly go into the Glazers ownership and what it's done to the club, the effects it's had on us, and obviously why I think it's a positive that they might be going. Obviously, when they took over the club, 17 years ago now, they bought the club on debt, on a leveraged buyout. It's not been good for the club. Over the last 17 years, we've not took any steps forward. We've not moved forward at all as a club. If anything, we've moved backwards. Obviously, when they first took over, we still had Alex Ferguson and David Gill on the board. Alex Ferguson in charge. Obviously, we still had success even after they took over, and I think it was 2007. We still won league titles. We already had a team in place. We still won league titles, and even after the team that was in place then, the team that won the European Cup in 2008, obviously once that had all kind of started to fade away, Fergie still worked miracles, using players like Tom Cleverley, Anderson, all these kind of fringe players. He worked miracles and was still consistently getting us challenging. So obviously, at the start, it wasn't like a major problem. Obviously, fans protested, and the reason they protested was the way that the club was bought, which is totally understandable. That we've never really been in debt before, and now we had this massive amount of debt on the club. And obviously, I've been a big backer of the protests, and I totally agree why people protest. But we did have success until Fergie left. Obviously, once Fergie left and David Gill left, Ed Woodward was put in charge of the day-to-day running of the club. Obviously, not a football man, a banker. For me, that was a big issue, and it showed in the decisions he made, in the players that were bought, in the wages that have been handed out, in the structure of the club. It just showed that he wasn't the right person to be in charge, and obviously he was in charge for a fair old while until Richard Arnold recently took over as CEO. Woodward made a lot of wrong decisions, and Matt Judge as well, obviously on player contracts, on size of wages, on the players that we were, interested in. We seemed to turn kind of Real Madrid Galactico, which I didn't like, because we United were supposed to, use young players, build them up, get them to the peak, obviously, and then when they start to dip, then we sell them on. But that's not what we've been doing. We've been buying players that are past, either at the very end of their prime or past the peak, and it's been a very disappointing, 10 years since Fergie last won us a league title. And obviously, now we've got a good manager in charge, which was the first good decision I think the Glazers have made in their entire time at the club. The first decision that I actually agree with. I wanted to just talk about, obviously the infrastructure of the club hasn't changed in 17 years. The training ground is still exactly the same, as Ronaldo said in his interview. The Old Trafford is falling to pieces. It's just the club's not in a good way, and that is down to the Glazers ownership and the way that they've bought the club and ran the club like it's a business and not a football club. I understand football is now a business, but you need to run it in a certain way to make sure that the club is always on the front foot and always trying to grow, because the second you stand still, other clubs will go past you, and we've seen that with the likes of Liverpool and City and Chelsea, who have obviously had more success than us in the past couple of years. So yeah, that's just my kind of thoughts on it. Obviously, I'm glad now that the Glazers have put the club up for sale, because now I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's I think it goes a lot out to a lot of people. Have been saying obviously it's Ronaldo's interview. I think that was the final nail in the coffin, but most of the work has been done by the fans, by people like me and people like you. Using Twitter to campaign, getting Glazers out, trending, people that go to games and have done marches, and the 58 that have done all the stuff they've done. So yeah, obviously now we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and obviously it's a massive plus for us as United fans. So now I just want to go on to a tweet that I put out there today. So I just put out a tweet asking about the Glazers putting United up for sale and asked your opinions on their time at the club. I got quite a few responses to this, which I'm thankful for, obviously, to all you guys on Twitter that have done that for me. So the first tweet I got was from @Martinez SZN, and he said, "Amazing news. My thoughts, it's been a complete disaster. They've made the club who was en route to become the English version of Bayern turn into a mid-club, to be honest. It's about damn time they leave. Let's cross our fingers for Dubai owners." Obviously, I totally agree that it is definitely time for them to go, and what they've done to the club has been a disgrace. Took the club that's achieved most in England and turned them into a mid, lucky to finish in top 4 place team. We struggled last year to get into the Europa League, let alone getting into the Champions League. So it has been awful that they've done to the club. Obviously, he did mention crossing his fingers for Dubai owners. That's something I want to discuss a little bit later in the video. So the next tweet is from @United P.O.V 22, and he said, "The Glazers have been so useless, to be honest. All they've done is suck the money out of the club, let the infrastructure rot, and destroy the football side of the club. I'm glad to see the back of them," which again is a sentiment I totally agree with. Something I wanted to say, which I forgot to put in my thoughts at the start then. Obviously, I know a lot of rival fans have give United fans a lot of stick, saying that the Glazers, spent £1 billion on transfers. But like I said before, the players that we went for weren't the type of players that we needed to take the club forward. And I think now after the Ronaldo interview, a lot of fans have opened their eyes to see that the Glazers have sucked some money out of the club and haven't invested a penny of their own. That's like the big takeaway that I think the football world's kind of took from that interview. And it's a thing that I'm kind of happy about. And obviously now it's put the Glazers under immense pressure. I imagine that they've not enjoyed the negative press, and neither of the sponsors, and I think that's why they've decided to formally put the club up for sale anyway. So the next tweet that I got was from @Samuel Odaba 76, and he said, "I still can't believe that our voice is finally heard. Our #Glazers sell Man United is finally becoming a reality. Well, all I can say is that I didn't see any progress under the Glazer ownership. To be honest, they only took us plenty of years back. No investment was made into the club," which is obviously something that I just mentioned, and completely true, completely factual. They've never put a penny in. They've only took money out. They bought us with a load of debt, and all they've done is make that debt grow. I think I read something before that the debt is now standing at 525 million quid, maybe more than that. and that's not including with all the money that they've took out the club in dividends and everything else. That's just our outstanding debt at the moment, which is a crazy amount of money. And obviously, I think the reason why they're now looking to sell. Obviously, I've read also that I think that their asking price for the club is £6 billion, which obviously is a lot of money, but there's a lot of players out there that want to pay that type of money, which we'll get onto later. So the next tweet was from @Anirban 04199677, and he said, "One of the best news in recent times, Erik ten Hag's appointment and Woody's sacking. Nah, this is the best of all, but we need to wait for new owners and how they plan to improve our club. What CR7 told us about the facilities needs addressing. I hope all the board members leave and Sir Alex Ferguson." And he went on to also say, "We have failed to move on from Sir Alex Ferguson, and my question is, what made him back the Glazers as our owners in the first place and for so long?" Which is an interesting question that I'll go into in a second. Regarding transfers, Glazers have compelled us to grow grey hairs. That's very true, especially with the De Jong saga this bleeding summer. Did nothing but make me want to pull my hair out, let alone make them turn grey. And he said, "I hope that changes with new people. I wish to see footy people, no bankers." Obviously, that's something I totally agree with. I think we need football people putting in charge of the club, not someone who's got a business in banking, and they need to have a background in football. Obviously, they need to be business minded as well, because obviously football is a business now. But they need to have a bit of been in the football world before. Now, obviously, Anirban asked a question about why Sir Alex Ferguson backed him so long. Obviously, I don't have the answer to that question, and maybe he does have a little bit to answer for why he's never spoken out. Obviously, I would never want to badmouth Sir Alex Ferguson. Obviously, he's the greatest one of the greatest managers we've ever had, alongside Sir Matt Busby, and I don't want to really question him, but I do get what you're saying, and it's understandable to be frustrated that he's never had anything bad to say about them. He's never, tried to push the fan base even more to get rid of them. And obviously, I think with him being in charge, they've given him a place on the board of directors, and they've mostly lined his pockets a bit. And obviously, money does make a fool out of most of us, even greats like Sir Alex Ferguson. And maybe that's what's kept him quiet. At least that's just me speculating anyway. So then the next tweet was from @bald_tactics, and he said, "Liars, penny pinchers, absolute soulless. They lasted 17 years through a combination of lies and false optimism. But I'm just glad they're about to leave finally." Obviously, again, sentiments that I totally agree with. They've lied to fans. They've made false promises. They've never delivered on most of the promises that they've made. They haven't improved the club. They haven't brought us forward. And I will be glad to see the back of them if that's how it goes. Obviously, even though they've now put up the club potentially for sale, but also looking for investors, I want to urge all United fans to carry on with the Glazers Out protest, to keep pushing. As me, because I'm not a match-going fan, I can't afford to be. I do all my protesting obviously through Twitter, so all you guys that ain't match-goers, keep on pushing the hashtags, really put the pressure on, keep it trending. It should be trending every day until they go. Until we actually see the back of them. I think we should push until they're gone. Make them know that we don't want them to get investors and stay. We want them to go. We don't want the Glazers anymore. At least that's how I feel anyway. And then the last reply I got on this was from @CLU_007, and he said, Glazers and their cronies have been destroying this club since 2005. Very true. It is always commercial over football reasons, poor management, poor decision making, wrong people running the club, absolutely clueless about football, hashtag Glazers out. And again, sentiments that I totally agree with. They have had the wrong people in charge. They've put obviously Woodward in charge, and then Richard Arnold, who I still don't think is a football person. I don't think John Murtagh has been up to the job, and before him obviously Ed Woodward wasn't up to the job. And I just want to see new people in charge who actually know what they're doing. At least that would be my hopes, that the board does almost completely go. So yeah, that's your guys' thoughts on it anyway. And obviously I appreciate all the tweets that I get, and it helps me massively add towards the content, so thanks for that, guys. Obviously, with me shouting all the tags out for people on Twitter, if you're watching and you're on Twitter, give these guys a follow. They're all great United fans, and they put out some really good content, so follow all the hashtags. I put pictures in all the videos with their handles in and stuff, so give all these guys a follow. So now I just want to go on to a couple of polls that I put out there, and I got a few comments off these as well. So the first poll that I put out there was, with the Glazers putting the club up for possible sale, who do you want to buy the club? This poll got 53 votes. The four options, obviously from what I've heard in the papers and stuff I've put out there, was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, so a Dubai consortium or another state fund like Qatar or wherever else, American investors or a fan-based consortium. Like I said, this got 53 votes, which is obviously quite a decent spread. So you guys voted like this. American investors got 0% of the vote. Obviously I can see why. I don't want any more, American like investment banker types that are just interested in milking the club. That's not what we want or we need. We need someone who's going to invest heavily. We've got a lot of improvements to make to the infrastructure. We've got a lot of things that need doing to the club, and we need someone who's going to come with some serious money to do that. So then the next up in the votes was a fan-based consortium with 15% of the votes. Now, I don't think a fan-based consortium would have the right amount of money or backing to pay $6 billion for the club, and also then have the funds to run and give transfers. At least in my opinion, obviously $6 billion is a lot to crowdfund, a lot to get behind. Obviously I know you could use lots and lots of people and get that money together, but I just don't think that'll be possible. And I think we're kind of past those type of days in football now. And then with 17% of the vote was Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Obviously Sir Jim is minted. I think his company's worth like $50 billion in EOS, and obviously that's who we'd buy the club through. So they do have plenty of money, but when you compare that to a city state, to a country like Dubai, or to a place like Qatar, or all these places in the Middle East, it's pennies compared to what they can offer. For me, so no billionaire is squeaky clean. No billionaire makes that money by being ethical, in my eyes. As a poor person, I just don't see people making that type of money without capitalising on other people and obviously pushing their agenda to make that type of money. So I don't know loads about Sir Jim, but I do know obviously he was brought up as a United fan, so that would be a positive, having someone who cares for the club in charge. But it just depends on obviously whether they've got the funds to buy the club for $6 billion, pay off all the debt, then invest massively in the infrastructure which is needed. Obviously Old Trafford is an absolute shithole. It's falling to pieces. Not only the stadium, but the surrounding area needs a lot of investment. When you look at what City's owners did, they didn't only, thingy into the stadium, which was already there, obviously, because City would rent that off the council, but what they've done to the surrounding area and to the infrastructure of the club is a massive thing, and that's something I'd like to see happen at United. And then obviously the last one was Dubai or another state fund, and they got 68% of the votes, and obviously that's a massive percent. And I think a reason why a lot of fans would have voted like that is because they know that City have that type of money, that type of, you know, firepower where they can just throw money at it. They're not, yeah, City make a profit, but they're not just interested in profits. It's more about what they want is the success and to show that the club that they own is the best. So I think that's why a lot of you guys want those type of owners, and that's kind of the way I'm leaning to. I still think Sir Jim would be a good owner, but I am leaning towards a Dubai kind of thing. But I will bring up something in another poll that I put out that kind of questions our thing is to have a Middle East owner. So I got one tweet off this from Mr. Craig Moore 1, and he just said either Sir Jim or Dubai, which is the two that I'd be leaning for anyway. So the next one I put out there, the next poll was, would you as a United fan be happy with a state fund taking over, even if they had a bad human rights record? Obviously, a lot of the countries in the Middle East do have quite sketchy human rights records. Obviously, you look at Qatar and other places. So I just wanted to ask that question as like a moral thing. This poll got 43 votes. Obviously, the answers were yes and no. So 49% of you guys said no, you wouldn't want owners if they had a bad, human rights record, and 51% said yes. So obviously it's split down the middle by only 1%, by one vote. Now, for me, obviously you have to bring morals into any decision that you make, but also when you look around, other clubs have these owners. PSG, you have City, you've got Newcastle now with the Saudi money, that are obviously now big hitters. In a total selfish way, as a fan, I would like the Dubai money, because then you can compete with City. Because if we had the same firepower as City, in being able to spend the money and improve the facilities and everything, United are always set up to be a bigger club than City. We've got a bigger fan base. We've got, a bigger stadium. Obviously, it needs a lot of improvements, but with the type of money these people are packing, they could either knock Old Trafford down and rebuild it, or obviously make major refurbishments to it and make it, stop the roof from leaking, stop it from falling to pieces, and sort out the surrounding area. So, obviously, on a total selfish thing as a fan, I am leaning towards them, but I do get people who question the human rights record, who ain't comfortable having owners of the club who exploit people, and with what's happened in Qatar, obviously with them using like slavery to build the stadiums and poor working conditions and things like that. I get where people will be coming from, and I totally understand it. So now I got two tweets out, two replies off this. So the first was from NK_United_, and they said, to be honest, if City, Newcastle and other teams do it, why can't we? And that's kind of my thoughts of a selfish kind of United fan that just wants my club to be successful. And then the next person that commented was @pirate_Pete_, and he said, crazy how people turn a blind eye to their morals just so we can have a rich owner. So imagine a country leader having a similar situation on a decision. You think he would decide on his morals or greed? To be honest, if we're going to start talking politics, there's not a single political leader that goes off the morals. They all think about money, and that's just the way of the world. But obviously, I get people question it, and it's good to question. And when they did take over, obviously these are questions that can be put to them. And are they going to, change the way they operate and things like that? But obviously that's a thing for another day. But if we did get Middle East investment, there are questions that could be asked of the owners, and we'll have to see But obviously on a selfish football fan kind of perspective, the more money the person who buys the club got, the more chance we have at getting the things we need as a club to make us challenge again. So the last poll that I put out there, and obviously the last part of the video now, was just said, rumours that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is preparing a bid for United. What are your thoughts, Reds? Would you be happy with him buying the club? So this got 69 votes, which is obviously quite a good amount of votes. And the answers were obviously yes, you'd be happy, or no, you wouldn't. So no got 22% of the vote, and yes got 78% of the vote. Obviously, a lot of fans kind of would like Sir Jim, and for me, I would take him. He would be my second choice, but I would take him because, like I said, his company's worth over 50 billion quid, which is a lot of money and is enough to do some of the things. But I just worry under Sir Jim if it's still going to be a little bit like the Glazers, where it's about milking the cow and taking money out of the club and, you know, balancing books and stuff. Whereas with a you know, state-owned thing where it's they've got money to burn, they don't particularly care about making profits. Obviously they always do, because with a club like United you're always going to be able to make money, but they're not going to want to milk the club and get too much out of it. They just want success. So I'm hoping that's the way Sir Jim's going to think as well, but I don't know. I am going to do a video at some point which was suggested by Arimban about doing a deep dive to how Nice are run at the moment, because Sir Jim's company owns them, and to also do like a deep dive into clubs that are owned by state funds to kind of see how they're run and to like put them head to head and see which ones run better and which one as fans we prefer. So that I thought that was a really good idea for a video, so that's something I'm going to look into and do some research on. So I got two replies off this, and the first one was from @RexX12, and he just said Dubai, obviously saying that he preferred Dubai than Sir Jim. Obviously I did do another poll about that. And then the last one I got on this was from Mr. Craigmore1, and he said, I'll definitely have his own ownership, but I'm slightly leaning towards Dubai. They have an unlimited wealth that can get us competing with City, etc., and would have no problem paying off debts, redeveloping Old Trafford and Carrington, and investing in the club, which is obviously something that I've said and I totally agree with. I think Dubai just got more money, more resources to make all the things that we need to improve the club to get us competing back on top. And as a United fan, that's, I think, all that we want. So yeah, that's kind of it for me, guys. I will be recording tomorrow another one of my Legends videos. I want to ask you guys, while you're here, if you've got to the end of this video, just to, you know, if you fancy it, have a watch of that Legend series that I'm putting out. Up to now, I've done a video on Bobby Charlton and a video on George Best. I'm going to be doing Dennis Law, but I'm also going to be doing in the series Alex Stepney, and then moving towards the 70s and 80s with people like Steve Coppell, Brian Kidd, and then further into the 90s with Brian Robson, with Steve Bruce, with Gary Pallister, with Dennis Irwin, and then into the 90s era with people like Gary Neville, David Beckham, you know, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes. And I'm also then going to be moving on further into obviously a legend of the club like Wayne Rooney and Ronaldo, who's obviously just left the club. So I just wanted to say, obviously, keep an eye out for those videos. If you've watched them and you've liked them, put that notification bell on, subscribe, and put that notification bell on so you can get to see all the episodes. I've been really enjoying doing them, so it's something I'm looking forward to. That's why I just wanted to let you guys know. So thanks for watching. Do me a favour, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Obviously the the quicker I get to 50 subscribers, then I can start live streaming, because YouTube won't let me live stream through my mobile until I have 50 subscribers. So, and because I don't have a laptop or anything, it's kind of my only option. So the quicker I get to 50, the quicker I can put out live content and interact with you guys, which is what I really want to do, which will hopefully make the content even more interesting, and obviously give you a chance to get your opinions across there, and then instead of me getting tweets off you hours before I record. So yeah, again, thanks for watching. I'm really enjoying doing this. It's, you know, it's becoming a real big passion of mine, and I thank everyone that's subscribed and watched up to now. Cheers, peace.